So it's 12 noon. We'll get started in just 1 minute. And for those of you who have a web browser open, I'm sure you have the capability since you're on Zoom. Everything that I'm going to be talking about can be referenced through our website. So it's www.seu.edu/CSI. I'll type it into the chat so you get it. So we're going to show 2 videos. I'm going to reference a few directories on our website to learn about student organizations, but it's all on the website that I just shared in the chat. So you can follow along there. Or if you miss anything I said over the next 45 minutes, you can definitely go back to that website and everything will be there whenever you are ready. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Want to do a quick introduction of who I am, and then we'll head into the presentation. And most of the time, I just want to devote to questions that you may have. And you can also ask questions throughout the presentation too. You don't need to wait till the end. So my name is Ted Benedalock. I am the director in the Center for Student Involvement at Santa Clara University. I'll talk about, well, the first video is going to talk about what Center for Student Involvement does, so I won't give that away now. But I'm starting my 11th year at Santa Clara University. I'm not a native of California. I'm actually from the Midwest. I was born and raised in Illinois, most of my time in Chicago in the suburbs. So for those of you in Chicago, welcome. I miss home. Prior to Santa Clara, I worked about 10 years, mainly at Northwestern University, just north of Chicago, and then a little bit of time at Duke University in Durham, North Carolina. So if there are any North Carolinians, welcome, or even South Carolinians. I'll stop there. I'm at home with my kids right now, so if you hear some screaming, they're just having fun. But I'll mute my screen if I need to go help them, but I think they're okay for now. I gave them some iPad time, which is always good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. We are going to show a video of what the Center for Student Involvement is about. Hopefully that'll jog some questions for you. And then I will demo some parts of our website that may be useful to you, and then conclude with a video, which I hopefully will encapsulate who we are, but more so from the student's perspective. So, and then we'll end time with just questions and answers. So let me share my screen. Can you give me a thumbs up if you see like a red screen that says get to know us at CSI? Cool, thank you. Let me turn up the volume. Okay. So this first video is just shy of 3 minutes, so it's not a long video at all.
Hi, we're the Center for Student Involvement. This video will walk you through how we help students get involved on campus.
Our vision statement is inspiring Broncos to be more throughout their college experience. We are focused on empowering students and helping them become leaders, both on campus and in the community.
The Center for Student Involvement, also referred to as CSI, oversees many programs and entities throughout the academic year, including new student and parent programs, welcome weeks, registered and chartered student organizations, and a variety of leadership programs.
New student and parent programs includes orientation, where incoming students begin their transition to Santa Clara, welcome weekend, a series of events that mark the official start of the academic year, and family weekend, where students invite their parents and family members to Santa Clara to participate in events and become familiar with their
Ted, I think the volume on the video went out. Oh, there, it's back.
The second is critical
Alrighty.
perspective
Okay.
and leadership and is open to
Hold on, I will rewind it for those who didn't hear it, so I apologize.
We offer the Center for Student Involvement. This
I apologize. So if this is repeat for some of you, sorry, there was a glitch in my volume.
Our vision statement is inspiring Broncos to be more throughout their college experience. We are focused on empowering students and helping them become leaders, both on campus and in the community.
The Center for Student Involvement, also referred to as CSI, oversees many programs and entities throughout the academic year, including new student and parent programs, welcome weeks, registered and chartered student organizations, and a variety of leadership programs.
New student and parent programs includes orientation, where incoming students begin their transition to Santa Clara, welcome weekend, a series of events that mark the official start of the academic year, and family weekend, where students invite their parents and family members to Santa Clara to participate in events and become familiar with their students' new home.
We also oversee Welcome Weeks, a series designed to help students acclimate to the Santa Clara community through a variety of fun and engaging events held during the first few weeks of the fall quarter. This is a great opportunity for students to meet new people on campus, become familiar with different departments and offices, and transition to life at Santa Clara.
The Center for Student Involvement also advises and oversees all the student organizations on campus. This includes over 170 registered student organizations, also referred to as RSOs or clubs, which fall into 10 different categories ranging from academic and professional to special interest, as well as 9 chartered student organizations, also referred to as CSOs. You can visit the CSI website to view the directory of all current RSOs and CSOs.
We also provide a variety of leadership opportunities throughout the academic year, which include both curricular and co-curricular. For curricular, we offer 2 academic courses on leadership, each for 2 credits. The first is reserved for first-year students and is called the Emerging Leaders Program. The second is Critical Perspective and Leadership and is open to all students. For co-curricular, we offer the Modus Leadership Retreat and the Fempowerment Conference. Additionally, our office regularly provides leadership workshops around topics such as radical empathy and compassionate leadership. These leadership programs provide opportunities for students to reflect on their personal leadership style and grow in their leadership capacities.
Please make sure to visit our website at sbu.edu/CSI for further details and contact information for our office. Throughout the academic year, we will be posting events and opportunities for students, so make sure you follow us on social media at CSI and SBU on Instagram and the Center for Student Involvement on Facebook. Thanks for watching, and go Broncos!
Okay. So again, sorry about that. I have the volume figured out for the rest of the section, so hopefully that was just a one-time thing. So again, I am going to share the website address. So if you want to follow along on your computer, tablet, phone, whatever you're using. So I typed in the website address, but you can also see it on the screen too. It's su.edu/CSI. CSI is Center for Student Involvement for short. So you can view that video again. So this is our homepage. So if you scroll down, you will see the video there again. So you see the video here, just click there and you'll see it. And if you're interested in starting a new student organization, we actually start anywhere from 16 to about 24, 25 every year. And they're usually started by new students, first years, and then sometimes a handful of transfer students who want to start new student organizations. The video below walks you through that process on how to start a new student organization. So it's a very popular question that we get is, hey, I don't see this student organization at Santa Clara. How do I start one? Talk to us, and then we will walk you through the steps. But this video will help you learn those steps ahead of time. But before you get there, a common question we get is, I want to learn more about XYZ student organization, or do you have this student organization at Santa Clara? So again, on our homepage, if you go to, so this is the menu bar on the far right. If you look under the social media icons, there's a student organization directory. Click there, and it will take you to our online directory of student organizations. And so you can filter by keyword. So let's say you're an engineering student, type engineering. Oops. It would help if I knew how to spell. And then you can see it starts to populate all of our engineering student organizations. But let's say you don't remember, you're like, I think it started with the letter R, to type R. Or I mean, you can pick a letter here. So you can click the letter R, and then you get retail studies. So, oh, I think it starts with the letter K. Then you see Kumana O, which is our Hawaii Club or our Korean Student Association. Or you can also search by category. So if you, in the video, they talked about 10 categories. These are the categories that we use. So let's say you're into the performing arts. So click performance arts, and then you will see our performing arts student listed here. So it helps to filter it for you, so you're not looking at all 170, which can be very difficult to see what you're looking for. So different ways where you can use this to search what you're looking for in terms of student organizations. And if you don't see one, contact us, and then we can either help you start a new one, or in some instances that we have student organizations that don't renew for the year for various reasons. So they're just inactive, and we don't list inactive groups in the directory. So I would say 9 times out of 10, it's usually because the group is inactive, but the other 9 times out of 10 means we probably don't have them, but we're happy to help you start one. And then, let's see what so back to the home page. The other section I want to point out to you is, and this is brand new for this academic year, so hopefully you will be joining us a year from now. This website will be, in a sense, your go-to website for learning about what's going on campus. So our webpage is a gateway to that. So if you go up here to get connected, click there. And this is what our current first-year students and new transfer students are using, and pretty much all of our students are using, to learn about what's going on campus, especially since we are remote for the fall quarter. So even though we're not physically on campus, we are still engaging our students through a lot of virtual programming and other means. So I'm just going to show you the different sections. I won't go in them in depth. I just want to point out the main sections. So the main sections are events. So there's an events calendar, groups, which I just showed you the directory of student organizations. The section at the bottom talks about wellness, which I'll show you the different aspects of what's called the wellness wheel, and then just resources around campus to help you during your time at Santa Clara. So this is just a video website, or sorry, a video that explains how to use the website. I won't click on that because I'm doing that right now. This is a virtual welcome kit. If you want to see different ways we're welcoming students to Santa Clara. This is what we're using the most right now, is the event section. So if you click this red button here, you can see the full calendar of what's going on this quarter, and it goes week by week. It's a Google Calendar, so then if you have Gmail, and all of our students have Gmail because of the fact that our Santa Clara email system is powered by Gmail. So you can link this event calendar to your personal Santa Clara email account. So you click here to see the event calendar. I'm not going to click on it. I just want to show you this page. And then if you are a student organization or a university department, you can post to this calendar to promote your events. There's a way you can do that. There's an online form to say, hey, we want to promote our event to the student body. Then we feature a few events right now. There's a lot of sustainability programs. So Turn is a sustainability programmatic series. And so this is one of the featured events right now. And then Chess Club is one of our more active groups because of the fact that you can't actively participate in chess online because of websites that play chess or that allow you to play chess. So we wanted to feature them here. But we do swap out these. It's not always Turn events. It's not always Chess Club. We swap these out every week so that we're featuring different groups. We also feature a different resource on campus. So the Hub Writing Center is who we're featuring right now. So if you ever need writing help for an assignment, or you're just generally not a good writer, I was not a good writer in college. And so resources like the Hub Writing Center really help students to hone their writing or help them elevate their assignment to the next level to get that passing grade. We talked about groups, so I'm not going to go into that. So in addition to student organizations, we have 17 club sports. And then we also have other, they're more paraprofessional in the sense that they're not necessarily student organizations, but they do report to a university department. So Peer Health Educators is one of them. The ambassadors through the undergraduate admissions department is another department or another group. And then another group that's very popular are the EMTs or emergency medical technicians. And that's popular for pre-health students who want to go not necessarily to be a doctor, but they want to go into the medical field in some form or fashion and want to help people. And then the second to last section is the 8 dimensions of wellness, or sometimes it's called the wellness wheel. I'm not going to click on all these, but if it just talks about the 8 dimensions of how to maintain your well-being as not just as a Santa Clara student, but just as a human being. So you can see the different elements. So intellectual well-being, physical well-being, occupational, and then there's 8 total. And then if you click on any of them, it gives you a more full description, but it also links you to people who can help you in that journey. So let's say you want to learn more about social well-being, you click on that, and then at the bottom, it has anywhere from 8 to 20 different people at Santa Clara, faculty and staff, who are there to talk with you online, over the phone, whatever you need to help you through that journey. Because we don't want you to go through that journey alone or feel you don't have a resource at Santa Clara to help you. And then the last section is just resources. So in general, it's just a list of campus departments that may be of interest to you. So just by expanding here, you see campus recreation, which they oversee, club sports and fitness and recreation, campus ministry, the career center, my department, Center for Student Involvement, Center for Sustainability, and it keeps going. Obviously, it's listed in alphabetical order. I'm not going to go A to Z on this one. Okay, I'm just going to show you 2 more things, and then I'll open it up to questions. Go back to the home page. So the second to last thing I want to highlight are our social media accounts. So click on the Facebook tab, and it'll take you to our Facebook account, pretty self-explanatory. Same thing with Instagram. Instagram is what we use the most in terms of promoting events. So if I had to say, you please click on or follow one of these 3, it would be Instagram. That's the one we post several times a week. Facebook, not as frequently, but you know, it's not like once a quarter, but Instagram is definitely the most frequent where you'll see posts. And then YouTube, which I'm going to show you next. We have a YouTube channel, so I'm going to click on that. And in the YouTube channel, you'll see what we call commercials by our student organizations. And we don't have all 170 of them, but we do have a pretty good sampling of student organizations who basically created these videos for students like you, incoming students, but also, prospective students, but also students in the current class of first years and transfers. So it's a way for them to welcome you to Santa Clara, but also in a sense, like a television commercial to promote who they are and what they do. So I'm going to highlight one specific one. And I know this student organization may not necessarily be one that is of interest to you, but I really want you to focus more so on the message, because for me, it's one that shatters stereotypes, that you don't have to fit a certain demographic to be part of this student organization or any student organization. But it also shows that all of our students, including you as prospective students, are very multidimensional. You have multiple identities. And I love how this student organization that I'm going to highlight next really exemplifies that. And it's a fun video too. So even if you don't get those 2 lessons I just shared, it's just a fun video. I love just the production value of it. So it's the Society of Women Engineers. Like I said, some of you may not be, this may not be of interest to you because you're not an engineer. And even if you're not a woman, you don't identify as a woman, just because it's just for women engineers, it is open to all students. I know men who are part of this organization. And so I don't let names or demographics steer you away from something that may be of interest to you. And again, this is one of the reasons why I want to highlight this video, because it shatters those stereotypes of what you can pursue as a Santa Clara student.
I am a web engineer and an artist. I am a multidisciplinary engineer and a fashion designer. I'm a bioengineer and a runner. I am a computer engineer and a DJ at KSU. I'm a computer engineer and a painter. I'm a bio and computer engineer and a game designer. I'm a bioengineer and a kickboxer. I am a mechanical engineer and a skier. I am a computer engineer and a rock climber. I'm a computer engineer and I'm a musician. I'm a mechanical engineer and I do pageants. I'm a computer engineer and a photographer. I'm a bioengineer and I'm a cook. My favorite free memory is going to the National Conference.
where you get to hear from real-life women engineers in the industry.
To learn networking skills and professional skills.
My favorite SWE program is the volunteer programs that we have on Saturdays for high school girls around our city to come to our campus and learn about different engineering disciplines.
My favorite SWE program is SWE Sisters. I love having a little sister.
My favorite program in SWE is SWE++, a volunteering opportunity where students at Santa Clara teach middle school girls how to code, and we prove that women do belong in STEM. STEM is something that should be inclusive and should encompass everyone.
SWE means diversity. Everyone is welcome in SWE. To me, SWE means empowerment, coming together to empower each other's community.
SWE makes me confident to be an engineer.
It made me feel heard. It made me feel accepted.
It means empowering women in engineering and in STEM to be the best that they can be. SWE is a place where I found some of my best friends.
And that is him.
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Now is the time where I want to open it up to any questions that you may have. I was supposed to have someone with me to help monitor questions in the chat, but she couldn't help out last minute. So it's just going to be me. So I'll do my best to answer questions. So you can type your questions in the chat feature of Zoom, or you can also use the raise hand feature. So for those who don't know how to use the raise hand feature, click it's either on the top or the bottom, depending on what computer you're using. There's a tab called Participants, and you'll see a number that's around 140 something. Click on that, and then you still see the list of participants. And then below that, you'll see raise hand feature. So you click that raise hand, and then I will see that you raise your hand, and then I'll just call your name so you can ask your question. So go ahead, fire away if you have any questions. Again, you can type it into the chat or raise your hand, and then I will call on you. And of course, I'll unmute you if you do want to say your question out loud. Yes, Ella, go ahead.
Hi. I was wondering
Hi.
what your favorite part of Santa Clara is.
My favorite part?
Yeah.
Good question. If I could make that a multi-part answer. One, it's always the students. Anyone who works in higher education or works at colleges and universities or any education, K through 12, you have to be in it for the students. And I just love going to, well, I'm not going to campus right now, but that's something I just truly love. And it just gives me energy just to listen to students, hear their stories. And that's a very Jesuit thing to do, is just to listen to stories. And what Jesuits do is accompany you in your journey and just to learn, what are your dreams? What are your goals? And what are your fears? What can we do to eliminate those fears so you can reach those goals? And so just listening and accompanying students is something that I truly enjoy doing, because every student's unique. So it's not a cookie cutter relationship across the hundreds of students I interact with on a yearly basis. So it's very unique. And so every day is different. And that's what I love. And I think the other thing I love about Santa Clara is it's very clear in its values, and it's rooted in Jesuit values. But when you look at the Jesuit values, even if you're not religious, I'm not religious. And so you can really hang your hat on a lot of those values because they might align with your personal values, like serving others. That isn't necessarily only relegated to people who are religious. And so that is something I've really enjoyed about my time at Santa Clara, and I hope to retire here, is the fact that we have very clearly defined values, and that our students, especially our student activists, really hold the university to those values and say, hey, if the university is straying from them, how can we get back on track? And I really enjoy that aspect of being able to clearly state this is what we stand for.
Perfect. That sounds amazing. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. I see some questions in the chat. Hold on, let me get to the top. So what is the average club size, and how many clubs does an average student take part in. The average club size, you need a minimum of 15 to become a club, and it's not a hard and fast rule. It's just so we know that there's interest in it beyond like you or a buddy are starting it, and that's just more that we know it will sustain over time. But it ranges anywhere. I would say on average it's about 40 to 50, but then you have some that are in the hundreds, and usually the ones that are like 500. It's not necessarily that you have 500 active members. It just means you might have about 100 active members, and the other 400 or however many are just interested and they just follow along in your email updates. And so that's something that we try to clearly define is what constitutes a member for each student organization. And then, for example, we have many student organizations that are honor society, like if you're a psychology major or an electrical engineering major, there's honor societies related to them. You have to be in that major to be part of that. And that is, we work with, for example, the psychology department to support the psychology honor society. And so that's going to fluctuate just because in terms of how many students declare psychology as a major or declare history as a major. So that's one difference too. And then in terms of how many student organizations most students are active in, I would say it ranges anywhere from 3 to 5. Usually as you get older and move from first year to senior year, you start to decrease the number of student organizations you're a part of. And that's just because of, you start to hone in on what really you care about. And maybe you were involved with like 7 to 8 as a first year, but then you started to whittle it down to maybe 5 by sophomore year, and then maybe down to 2 or 3 junior and senior year. And that's just because of time, but also because as you move up and as you get older, you want to be more involved with that student organization as a leader. And then once you're leading that student organization as the president or social chair or treasurer, whatever the position may be, it can be time consuming. And so there's only so much time you can devote to those student organizations. And that's just student organizations. There's other things that you may do. Some of you may be NCAA athletes. Some of you may be doing research or doing internships. And so that's another thing to factor into is the fact that student organizations are a part of what you do outside of class, but there's a whole world of other things that you can be doing. So it's a matter of what can you fit into your schedule, especially on a quarter system where we have 10 weeks of class and then finals. It goes pretty fast compared to a semester school. And so you want to be able to have that time management. And part of that time management is selecting over time what you can devote time to. But that just comes naturally. But our department, my staff, we're there to help you. And I was actually helping 2 students this summer help make that decision on which ones do I really want to keep in my portfolio and which ones am I comfortable letting go. And so that's just something that we're here to help you with. Hold on, I'm trying to get to the questions again. What is the process for students planning on starting their own clubs? So if you go back to the homepage, there's the intro video that I showed at the very beginning, and below that is a video. It has like a light blue starting screen that shows you the process on how to start a student organization. The basic steps are you need 15, not necessarily 15 members, but just 15 students who believe, yes, I think this student organization deserves to be at Santa Clara. And whether or not they actually join is on them, but they at least see the value in the club you want to bring to Santa Clara. 2 of our most recent clubs that we approved were the Harry Potter Club and the Pokemon Go Club. And so there's people who love Harry Potter. I'll admit I've never read the books, but students apparently love it. And I know it's probably the most popular book in the world. I'm missing out, but it's just an example of even a niche student organization like that can start up and be supported at Santa Clara and do very well. They're very popular student organizations. And then there's just basic steps like you need at least 2 club leaders, usually a president and a treasurer or budget manager, whatever title you want to use. And then you need to have a constitution, and we have a template for a constitution. You just fill in the blanks just with whatever is specific to your club. And then there's a couple forms that the club officers need to fill out, and then you're done. And then at least with the application process, and then the student government, so the student senate has to vote on approving your club. And the reason for that vote is just to make sure that there's no duplication of your club. For example, this was about 6 years ago. At the same time, we had 2 different students wanting to start the photography club. And so instead of having 2 separate photography clubs, we asked them, hey, can you merge? And they did. And so you just don't want to have two competing clubs, because then you start splintering the student body. And it kind of defeats the purpose of why clubs exist, is to create that sense of belonging. You don't want that competition. Do you have any advice for out-of-state students? Well, since we're remote, you're all kind of technically out of state, even if you live in San Jose, just because we're all remote. And so that Get Connected website is probably the biggest piece of advice I would give to any student who is, well, pretty much all students, through this remote environment that we're going through right now, because we're not on campus for the fall quarter. Hopefully we'll be back in the winter quarter. But that Get Connected website is, in a sense, the go-to website to learn about what's going on, how can I get involved on campus, but virtually too. Because that Get Connected website is still going to exist once we move back to campus. We want that one centralized website, so students can just go to one website rather than like, okay, I'm going to like 100 websites. Which one do I look at? We have one centralized website for you to learn about all the opportunities that are there for you, whether you're a commuter student or you live on campus, or we have a lot of older students who just live off campus, so you're just maybe a block or two off of campus, but you're technically not on campus. Are there any clubs that do service trips? Yes. So if you go to the directory that I showed earlier and you type in service, and then I think there's a category for service, you'll see some of the different organizations that do community service. Some universities count credit. We don't count credit because it's not a requirement in terms of like how many hours. So I know a lot of high schools will say you need X amount of hours to get credit for whatever for community service. Santa Clara doesn't do that. And so, but it doesn't mean that our students don't get involved with community service. I would say the majority of our students are involved in service in some form or fashion. And so even the student organizations that are in the service category, they're still involved in service through different means, just because a lot of student organizations, even though service isn't their bread and butter, they'll still do community service. So for example, SWE, that video that I showed, Society of Women Engineers, even though they're an engineering society, they do a lot of service through mentoring high school girls who want to get into engineering. And so that's what I love about many of our senior organizations, is they don't relegate themselves to just one specific type of programming, but they really want to give back to the community. And the community can range from high school students to minors much younger than high school, but also senior citizens and everyone in between. So that's what I love about our senior organizations, is they really have that big heart to give back to the greater community. What type of research opportunities, and it's for psychology, so I'm going to generalize it. There are research opportunities for I'm saying every major. I can't put words in their mouth, but a lot of universities have faculty that do research, and that's usually where you want to find where there's research opportunities. For example, if you're a psychology major or history major or a biology major, or even in the School of Engineering, obviously we'll have a lot of research, or the business school for finance or accounting. A lot of them will have faculty that do research or some sort of externship or internship opportunity. So it's just a matter of talking to the department that you're interested in and saying, hey, what opportunities exist? Or if you're in class and then you walk by all the bulletin boards that have job, or not necessarily job opportunities, but just opportunities, you'll see a lot of opportunities in that. But also if you're a psych major or whatever major you may be in, you're most likely going to be on their email communication list. And so they're going to send out communication about, hey, these are opportunities for sophomores, or opportunities for first year students, or hey, you're graduating soon. This is some opportunities for you as a graduating senior. So the questions keep coming in, so skipping around, trying to. A lot of service ones, as I talked about. Scholarships. There are scholarships through the financial aid office, so I'm not going to speak to that since that's not necessarily my forte. I don't want to misspeak. So if you do have specific questions about scholarships, I would definitely talk to the financial aid office. And some of you may already be linked to the financial aid officer. But there are, we try not to call them scholarships because scholarships is a very technical term. There are many senior organizations that, for example, Into the Wild is one of our most popular senior organizations. They lead anywhere from 2 to 3 wilderness trips, whether it's camping, hiking, rafting, rock climbing, surfing, biking, dirt biking, whatever, you name it. And sometimes it comes at a cost. So some of our rafting trips, because it's led by professional rafters and we have to pay them, there may be a fee to go on those trips. And there's some students who just can't afford it. We will pay your way. We'll basically waive the fee for you, and then our office will cover the fee for you. So it's not necessarily a scholarship. It's just that if you really can't pay, just let us know and we'll cover the cost for you. So we don't want cost to be a barrier for you to participate in something that you either love to do or that it just perks your interest and you just want to try it out. So don't let that stand in the way. Yes, Santa Clara has business fraternities. We have 2 of them, and they're co-ed. The 2 are Alpha Kappa Psi and Delta Sigma Pi. The difference is Delta Sigma Pi is specifically for business majors. So if you're pursuing admission into the Levy School of Business, Delta Sigma Pi is what you would be qualified for. But if you're an engineer or arts and sciences students, you can't join Delta Sigma Pi. That's just part of their bylaws. The other one, Alpha Kappa Psi, is for all majors, including business majors. So if you're a business major, you actually have a choice between Delta Sigma Pi and Alpha Kappa Psi. But if you're not a business major, your only choice is Alpha Kappa Psi. They're both very active, and I'm just guesstimating in terms of how active they are on campus. They're about equal in terms of their popularity, but also their size of incoming classes. And they have usually 2 recruitment periods per year. Both of them are starting to recruit around now, but then they'll do another one in late winter quarter into the spring quarter. So if you miss, some students are like, I just want to get my feet wet with academics. I don't want to get involved right away. And so this is something to learn too with seniorizations is there's some students who make that conscious choice of, I'm just going to lay low with seniorizations during the fall quarter or maybe even the winter quarter because I just want to get used to the academics. You're not going to miss the boat if you make that decision. We have many students who actually don't get involved till sophomore year because it's better for you to get acclimated to the academics and maybe the social component first, and then the seniorizations will always be there. And for example, the business fraternities that I talked about, or even the honor societies that I mentioned earlier, they have recruitment processes at least once, if not twice a year, and they're not just for first years. So I know a couple of students in my office who work at our front desk. They actually joined Alpha Kappa Psi as juniors, and they said it was the best decision they made, and they don't regret that they waited because of the fact that they wanted to get used to the academics. So that's something I think it's a lesson that I would like to profess to you is don't feel like you're behind the 8 ball if you don't join a seniorization immediately or even within your first year at Santa Clara. Is there Greek life? So I'm going to talk about, there's 2 types of what we call Greek letter organizations. So there's a social Greek letter organization. So what most people would traditionally consider a fraternity or sorority that, they have a, fraternity and sorority house, they do more social events, they might do community service, stuff like that. They do exist. Santa Clara just does not formally recognize them. And I'm not going to go behind the history of that. It'll take about 2 hours to open up a whole can of worms. So just know that they do exist. And even if you walk around campus, you're not gonna, even if I had never told you that the university doesn't recognize them, you would not have known that because you see Greek letters everywhere. And so that just shows you how active our social fraternities and sororities are. In terms of the percentage of undergraduate students who are active in fraternities and sororities, it's anywhere from 23 to 27%, depending on who you ask. And so it's about 25%, so 1/4 of the student body, which also means, so some students are like, oh, okay, I didn't join a fraternity or a sorority, my social life is going to be bad. Well, if only 25% are in them, it means 75% aren't, and that 75% are doing well. So just to put statistics in perspective for you. So the other side of the coin are Greek letter organizations that aren't those social fraternities and sororities, and so those would be co-ed, honor societies, business fraternities. We have a community service co-ed fraternity called Alpha Phi Omega, which is very popular. And so those, again, are co-ed. So both men and women join those, but they're formally recognized by the university because they're under our office. And so they don't have fraternity houses or sorority houses like the social ones would be. But that is actually another way for that the 75% that doesn't join social fraternities. They find their sense of belonging through those honor societies or through those business or service co-ed fraternities. I know it's a fraternity, but it's co-ed. Not definitely a fan of that name, but it's a term that they use. But then we'll have the other student organizations that were highlighted before, like Society of Women Engineers or Harry Potter Club, Chess Club. Those are open to you to find your sense of belonging. And that's what matters more, is where do you feel you belong? And maybe it's in multiple groups. And I think once you can find that sense of belonging, then it doesn't matter whether it was a social fraternity or not, or sorority. It just matters that you feel that I belong in this club, and this is where I feel whole at Santa Clara. And maybe it's multiple groups, or maybe it's through a sports team, or maybe it's through your major. Like you just really love your history majors, your peers in the history major. And so that's great. And so that's what we care more about, is where do you find your sense of belonging? Can you speak about inclusivity at Santa Clara, cultural diversity, and LGBTQ life? So I just want to go about 4 minutes. So I'll answer this question and maybe 2 more depending on time. So in terms of diversity and inclusion, it is something that I'm very proud of our student organizations, is even the ones that you may not categorically think that they're a diversity and inclusion group, is they think very hard about making sure that their club is inclusive of all members. So for example, the video I showed, SWE, Society of Women Engineers, the reason I showed that was because if you remember the dialogue, each woman that was featured talked about, I'm an engineer and something else. That was important to their identity. And I think that's where Santa Clara students thrive, is knowing that they can express their multiple identities however they want and not feel judged. And so if you're a man and you want to join SWE, they're gonna welcome you. Or if you're not Christian and you want to join Core Christian Fellowship, they're gonna welcome you. There's no discrimination, just to use a more harsh term, in our clubs. And I think they really invest in creating that inclusive environment through their programming, but just how they carry themselves. And again, that video, Society of Women Engineers, is a good example of how our clubs do that, is just through the language they use, the energy. So if you saw the video, they were very energetic, just very humble. And that's what I see with our Santa Clara students, is they just want you to feel comfortable. And if you're not if you join them just for a meeting and you're like, it's not really for me, they're going to say, hey, I know some other groups, like let's talk, like what else can I get you plugged in, get plugged in with, because there's just a host of other things you can get involved with Santa Clara. So you tried one thing, it didn't work out, there's about 500 other things you can find that can help you find that sense of belonging. So that's the main thing. So that's usually how I answer the diversity inclusion piece, is that, and not to really relegate it to necessarily a specific demographic, but just really more the aura or the essence of what we try to create at Santa Clara, whether it's through the student organizations or through the admissions department, or through my area or any other part of Santa Clara. It's just to make sure that you have that freedom to express your multiple identities and find that area or areas of Santa Clara where you can feel like you belong and feel that you are a Santa Clara Bronco. And I apologize, there's a lot of questions, so I'm not going to get to them because we're just running out of time. I'm going to answer 2 more. Can you speak a little bit about some of the CSOs, which is chartered student organizations, and specifically SCAP? So we have 9 CSOs. They are, I'm doing this from memory, APB, which is our programming board. So they do our concerts, our comedy shows. They do a lot of social events on campus. And then we have student government, which I advise. We have Into the Wild, which is the outdoor wilderness group, which I mentioned earlier. There's KSCU, which is our radio station. They're the only student organization that runs 24/7, 365 days a year, because it's a radio station. You can stream it online. We have the Multicultural Center. We have SCAP, which was referenced in the question, which is the Santa Clara Community Action Program. And they have 20 programs that focus on service and social justice. Most of them are off-campus partnerships, but we have a few that are on-campus partnerships. And then we have 3, if you're into the literary arts or into writing, we have the Redwood Yearbook, the Santa Clara newspaper, which publishes a print newspaper edition every Thursday, and then they have a website for the rest of the time, since it's only printed once a week. And then we have the Santa Clara Review. So if you do creative writing, you love photography, Santa Clara Review publishes four editions. They have 2 editions of the Santa Clara Review, and then a sister edition called the Owl, and they do 2 editions of that. So if you're into creative writing, that might be an avenue for you. And even if you're not an English major, I know a lot of engineering students or hard sciences students that just love to write because it's their passion. They find their outlet to share what they write through the Santa Clara Review, even though they're not an English major. And so those are our 9 charter student organizations. And then we have the registered student organizations, which we have 170 plus. I'm not going to list all those because we'll be here till Friday. One last question. Sorry, my daughter's singing a song. I don't know if you can hear her. So there seems to be some questions related to internships and jobs. So there's jobs that you can work on campus to get paid, so hourly wage. Those aren't necessarily linked to student organizations. That is through our student employment office, through the human resources department. And that is definitely an option for you, whether you have work study funds or not. And so I highly encourage you, if you're looking for some paid opportunities, and one, it could just be, you just need to pay the bills, or you just need more to supplement your revenue stream to help pay for your education. There's definitely a lot of opportunities to do that, even in this remote environment. And then the second thing is there are some student organizations that are linked to opportunities where you can get paid. For example, our charter student organizations, we have across the 9 charter student organizations, we have 225, give or take, positions that are paid a stipend that range from as low as $500 to as high as $5,550, give or take. But then our registered student organizations, they're not paid opportunities, but some of them have partnerships around the country, not around the country, but around the area, especially because we're in Silicon Valley. They have some partnerships with some startup companies, maybe some venture capitalists, where some of them want to hire Santa Clara students for projects or for internships, or even like they just want to hire them for full-time employment or part-time employment. So those are some opportunities to look at. So I did want to segment them into campus jobs, but also paid opportunities through student organizations. So I apologize, we're out of time. I do not want to hold you over because I know there's another session that you maybe want to get off to and have a breather. So I apologize I couldn't get to all the questions. I'm going to type my email address in the chat. You can email me directly if I did not get to your question, or if a question pops in your mind as you go through the admissions process, email me anytime. I'm very quick on email, not necessarily like 2 seconds later, but within 12 hours, I'm pretty good at replying back, unless I'm sick, which hopefully is not rare. So I see a lot of thank yous just streaming it. So thank you very much for being engaging and for listening. So I will say welcome to Santa Clara, and I hope to see you next year as Santa Clara Broncos. Good luck. Stay healthy. Class dismissed.